Hello, I'm Lauren, and welcome to Improving the World. I'm an international improviser based in Hong Kong, and I speak to amazing different improv women all over the world. Today, I talk to Tara DeFrancisco, an American in Columbus, Ohio, and we're looking at how you pull from all the different styles of education in improv and the different formats, the different aspects of performance, so that you are a fully holistic improviser and you are a melting pot of improv qualities. It's a juicy one. I hope that you enjoy. Hi, Tara DeFrancisco. How are you?
Oh, hey. Hey, how are you?
I'm decently good. Thank you.
Hey, I'll take it. Decently good. I'll take it.
Yeah. So I am in, I believe, a butternut squash with some pumpkin seed action. And one must guess feta or a white cheese because we're talking about, yeah, and also now I'm really hungry. We're talking about the melding and pulling together of different aspects of improv, community thoughts, and so on. You are firstly doing a traveling two-prov where you do musical, which is here, the improvised musical.
You got it.
Here, not here.
Here, not here.
Yes. And you were in Chicago for a long time and you were with IO. Now in Columbus, you have Nest Theatre, but you also worked with Second City and you did comedy sports. So I think that you have a really good perspective which sweeps across the improv landscape. So I'm really keen to hear your
Ooh, I can't wait to talk.
No pressure. Yeah. Okay, first and foremost, thrown down, what's a rounded improviser in your thinking?
Ooh, I love it. This is like my favorite thing to talk about recently. We have possibilities now. Improv is evolving and we're allowing in more practices and ways of expressing ourselves by taking the best of all worlds, which I was lucky enough to instruct and perform at those 3 theaters that you mentioned and now run one as well. The coolest thing that's happening right now on the improv scene is that people aren't siloed anymore. We were so trained to think like, well, I guess I really feel an appeal to short form, or something that's calling to me is long form, or sketch is what I'm passionate about. And now there's this blur that's more accepted. And I'd say in the past decade or so, I've improvised for about 20 years professionally. And at the beginning, it was not common that people would cross worlds because it was kind of like, you stay over there and I'll stay over here and you decide which one you pick your lane. I think it's gotten really cool that we all now recognize that we benefit from having these skill sets in our body. You don't go to the gym to only work out one muscle group. You take all of them and you make sure your body isn't atrophying in some place. You know, you want to make sure that it's being worked fully and wholly, holistically. I think that people are leaning into that now. Fairly new in Chicago, maybe like the aughts, people started to blend from one world to the other. And we started realizing, oh, the short formers, Sharks and Jets, are really good at character development. They're really good at urgency, making decisions quickly and prominently. And the long formers are really good at looking at scenic integrity, truth, discovery. The sketch people are great at harnessing those things and writing them down. But there's all these negatives to those worlds too, or at least the balance of those worlds is short formers they only train in short form and they only practice short form and don't look at the other things that round them out. Maybe they become less inclined to look at earnest discovery from their own characters. And maybe the long formers mask indecision as patience. And maybe the sketch people don't ride the energy of a show when it could take them to something new that they could discover. If there's pockets, like at Second City, there's pockets of place to improvise or find out where the scene is pulling you to go when you do improv to sketch. There's a lot of benefits from everyone just blurring and deciding to kind of like get your peanut butter in their chocolate. It makes a delicious Reese's cup, but that wasn't happening that long ago. So now it's fact. Things are that way now. And I love that. I love that.
The quote unquote rounded improviser is someone who hears from the different perspectives, hopefully goes to shows, different kinds of shows, but also then when you are performing, you don't have to just do a long form that is this breathy long, sorry, I love you, but like Estonian style or something, right? I don't know. Actually, they're doing great stuff in Estonia, not here to judge. Maybe it's long form that breathes and then there is intimacy and then there's like a short form game integrated or whatever. So it can match.
I think what we lost sight of for a little while is that everything was kind of making everything work. Like short form games were in the Herald because it needed these like bumps of energy. And Second City style sketch was born from improvisation being retooled and reworked with an audience. And all these things at the beginning, they were there. They're coming from game and scene play and Spolin and all that stuff. And then we got away from it and we all kind of started to war. And then everyone decided, I don't know why we did this. I think that's the beauty of it. And you can see it. Chicago, obviously, obviously is regarded as this grand birthright, the place. And that's why it's so important to so many of us. Yeah, Lion King, New York and LA, et cetera, all these places that have these great institutions. They also rode the wave a little before the rest of the cities out there have. It seems like every city at the same time, they have a grand explosion of improv. They make many schools and many forms of thought. They all hate each other, and then they eventually come back together because we all realize we just want to pretend and have a good time.
I'll come back.
Let's all come back. Exactly. It seems to be a biorhythm that is experienced in every single city I tour to. A lot of the discussions I'm honored to have are, how do we stop fighting in our community? How do we believe high tides rise all boats and really mean it and try to be okay with, if you make good art, people want to see more art. They don't want to not see more art. I think that we've equated it to, if they see my thing and then you steal them from me, that audience won't come back to mine. When in real life, they think, oh, that's good and that's good. And now I know what improv is and everything blooms. You don't go to one concert and think, I hate music. You think this band's not for me, maybe, but you don't think music is garbage. I think we have to start practicing abundance and thinking that people will come and that we have enough for everyone and that all schools are worthy.
I do now want to see an improv though, where people go to a thing and now hate the thing. They go and they have toast and they're like, I'm done with food, or I don't know.
Yeah. Restaurants, garbage food. No thanks. I'll never have food again.
No, because I'm comfortable. I'm done with sitting.
Yeah, exactly. What if that happened?
Thinking about a few things you said. One is this very much like this West Side Story, at each other in the improv scene. It's funny when I talk to people from different places, some know what I'm talking about. Some, no idea. I think that you've articulated it well, that it often can feel like fear of stealing audience, that maybe there isn't enough audience. And if they see that show and like them, they'll never come back to me. So A, up your game.
Right.
But beyond that, I've often thought about it as trying to bring the whole improv community up, because if we have more audience members, then there are more audience members. So if we have more performers, more audience, right?
Yes.
But what are your thoughts about the competitive scene and how to try to climb out of that?
I think it's garbage. And I think I choose to believe that most things that happen in artistic communities are born from fear if there's something bad there. So you're right. It just comes from this place of believing that if we have something that's important and precious to us, we teach others at first and we invite everyone in. And then when they start doing it, we're like, hold on a second. Oh, no. You can't do it too, because that means that no one will come to see the thing that I've created with my friends. I've curated so preciously. That's important. And you should be proud of, excited by, invigorated by your troupe. But I think as we keep birthing more and more humans that want to do this thing that we do, the best people doing them are the people that are taking care of themselves, putting in the work, doing the hours, and inviting more people in, because you're bringing people up with you. It's not against, it's just with. I think that the people in Chicago that are really well known for teaching now, even throughout the years, are people that believe in abundance and bringing people up with.
And the other thing that you were talking about was it can't be calf day every day. Although, I mean, it could be calf day.
Sick calves, bro.
I've seen some calves that I'm telling you, take a rest.
Take a day off.
Yeah, it's never like Padma has crazy calves. It's Jim. Sorry, Jim. Take a minute.
Sorry, Jim.
With this, how do I do a little momentary pause look and make sure that I'm not just working the calves? How do I be thoughtful of my education, my teachings, and my improv, and do a sense check? Hang on a minute. Time to do shoulders.
That's so great. That's a cool way of phrasing that question too. Right before this, I was teaching a scene work class, like right before we got on the call, and before you jumped in a bowl of soup, like right before that. And we were talking with our students. It was a scene work fundamentals, discovery, and dynamics, a truth class. They were saying, how do I take parts? So it's just funny that we're talking about this so much, and do this diagnostic check in me. And I think it's about watching shows that aren't yours, that you're not feeling precious about. What are they doing well? I had a coach a long time ago that was always like, look to someone else on stage that you're with and think, what did they do well? And if you challenge yourself to do it well, then you've actually given them a break. If I decide, wow, person X is a great editor, they're great at knowing exactly when the scene is over and helping keep that ball in the air of the energy. And if I say next week, I'm going to try to keep that in mind so that person X doesn't have to edit, then they've given themselves a chain reaction permission slip to do what they would like to try to see in someone else. Everybody has beneficial possibilities by watching the people that they love, or challenged by, or any of that. And I think that might be a way to kind of diagnostically check yourself. Am I being a person that whatever your thing is. Have I used status recently? Have I decided to connect on an earnest level with someone inside a scene? Have I brought up the truth? They're so good at character work, whatever it might be. But when you appreciate and love your friends, I personally think the funniest people I know are the people I've gotten to perform with. And people on TV are funny too. And some of them are on TV now. It's just because they're so good at taking inventory of what others do well, trying to challenge themselves to do it. We're surrounded by the funniest people in the world. So why not give ourselves the generosity of spirit and looking at our friends for challenges?
If it's important that I see what others are doing and make sure that I lend balance to the group setting so that I help do what they do so that it relieves them and they can do another skill set. Similarly, if I was asked what it is that I want to work on, and I say I really want to work on my character development skills, then that might mean that because I'm feeling I need work in that space, there's something else. What's the counterpoint within me that is letting me not do that? So what am I doing that I need to take a leave of absence from for a sec so that I can get to this? I'm feeling like I need to do this. Is that because I'm not good at it, or is it because I'm doing something else?
There's so many answers to that, I think. And part of the things that I would like to focus on in that great query, great query. For me, as a teacher, this is something that really I let marinate a lot. I think that when we challenge ourselves to work inside a show, we start to think that the show is not play, and we go into a directorial mode that doesn't allow us to actually assert the things we're admiring and loving in our friends because we're so focused on outcome. I realize I'm in a way dodging the question. I always hesitate to say, like, what are you working on? What can you put down? Because when people challenge themselves, let's say backstage, let's say they're backstage and they're about to go on stage. Improvisers do this, right? Tonight I want to work on making sure I name everybody, or whatever their thing might be. I don't know. That was a horrible one, but it's what I've heard. Then you only can hear in your head, I need to name people tonight. And all the organic stuff inside the show that could happen, would happen, could magically appear is going to feel like a loss if you didn't do your challenge. Does that make sense? So like for me, I get really precious about make sure that the place you're rehearsing is the work and the place you're playing is the play, so that you don't have to evaluate when you get to the play part. When you think about maybe that inventory thing, like you're saying, of what can I put down for now, make sure that happens outside the show time. And so that when you step into the show, you're not just like giving yourselves things to tick off on a chart and are truly present with the people you're playing with. I think it works better for improvisers if they're just consistently inspired rather than work focused challenged. You're going to fail.
Yes. And when you say that, you also make me think that I feel always that improv is very analogous to life. And as much as I am maybe capable at that in an improv scene, am I in my career chasing only money and not title, and title not money, and happiness and not whatever? And so there's a space where in life, in the not improv life, which doesn't exist, it's only improv.
I mean, what is that?
I think that you could use one as a mirror to the other. If I can fix it in one, I can flip it to the other.
Yes.
You mentioned the fact that you're in different places and spaces teaching, either through a computer box or in a real place with humans in a country or land.
Yes.
When you do this, do you see some of the stuff that we're talking about now, an imbalance or an improv scene or geography somewhere that you travel where they shine brightly in certain key skill sets or awarenesses, but maybe others a little bit more dim?
For sure. We've been to 24 countries so far with our musical.
Except Hong Kong.
Yeah, except Hong Kong. What's up, Hong Kong? Bring us. Yeah, and luckily we're brought there. Whatever country or city brings us, we go to. And that's a very fortunate improv life, I realized as I say that aloud. And I certainly miss it right now. Holy hell. I've been really honored to see how people play in different places. And I'm definitely seeing the strong suits of other countries that when I come back to the States, I can feel the challenge or the advantage to what is being done elsewhere. Like you're saying, I've noticed a lot in Eastern Bloc that physicality is used heavily inside shows. They're not scared of using their body to emote or to make the scene more dynamic looking. Whereas I think like New York style, Chicago style improv can be really flat. It can be really witty. There's not a lot of movement. This is again like stereotypes, but generally speaking, I think that tends to be true. I've also noticed in European cities, Germany and Italy specifically, I noticed a lot of a comfortability with letting it be dramatic if the scene calls for it. It taught me a lot touring there because I felt as a teacher, as I was playing there, I was watching how brave the students seemed to to be, to me, to allow a scene to go into a dramatic or dark space and then pop back out to do comedic improv. And I don't think they thought they were doing anything unusual, but I was like, wow, this really doesn't happen much now. This was probably like 2014, around that time that I saw it the first time so much. And I was just really taken by a good improv show should challenge people to feel, not to laugh. I think that's been my mantra since then. Can we allow people to feel all the things they feel, including laughter, shining a light on comedy and evoking the human spirit and things like that? But can we also allow it to be dark so that the light seems even brighter? I think that's the challenge the states have right now. Are we allowed to have gravitas in our very comedic show? And will that, by possibility, raise the comedic sensibility of the show? And I think it does. It's an act of bravery still, I think, over here. Everyone's afraid, being funny alleviates a room. So when we don't have that alleviation of laughter and energy pops, a lot of us get very nervous. It's like a challenge to ourselves, I think.
I'm thinking right now, to me, the US also feels sometimes like a shiny, shiny playground where actually behind it, people are like, and very angsty. So, you go into a shop and they're like, how are you today? And you're like, oh my God, I'm fine.
Oh.
And it's like terrifying because underneath that, there's stuff, people, there's history, there's disagreement, political turmoil, and angst to do with so many things.
Yeah.
The playground, it's shiny, shiny, but can be not so much. And so I wonder if this desire to seek the comedy is because it is what unifies, but also it's safe maybe because we don't know how to really dealing with shit. We're just like touching the surface.
Yeah, I think so. I'm Midwestern. Midwesterners are known to be very like, we're fun, we're having fun, we're very polite. We always say hi. I'm from Ohio, but Chicagoans are known for being a little brassy, but they're still pretty friendly. Maybe they might speak their mind a little more than the average Midwesterner, but Midwesterners are known to like put a gleam on everything and not really tell you how they're feeling. So I think that stuff does translate to stage when you go to perform and you realize, oh, my character hasn't emoted at all. I haven't said how I feel in this scene. It is because it's carrying over from regular time and us being taught not to tell people how we feel. I think that's why we're so drawn into magnetic performers that actually say how they're feeling, because that's not really permissible here in a lot of places. It is, but it's not coming out a lot. No one does it. How are you? Fine is a very American response. Oh, I'm okay. And then you don't say anything else. Yeah. Whereas like when I go to Finland or something, I'm like, how's everybody doing? And they're like, today was hard. They'll tell you an answer that's real, which I appreciated, but I was awestruck by. I went over and did a show in Finland, and the host that I was with was like, hey, get this, when you walk out and you're like, how's everybody doing? The typical American response to that would be like, yeah! Everyone would scream or say woo, or they'd applaud. It's like a very rock concert-y feeling. When he started the show in Finland, he was like, how's everyone doing? And everyone was like, well, thank you very much. And they started to talk to him. It was like 50 people, 50, 100 people. And they were like
individual discussion.
And I thought that was gorgeous. Why am I so trained to be waiting for a wall of sound that is not telling me a real answer? It's a saccharine response. We just had so much of that here, being drilled to be like, everything's fine. Let's do some comedy.
And when you are a host with a background where you're expecting that and you don't get it, you're thinking this already is going well. And it's
Yes.
When I started doing improv in the UK and I would say to the audience, how are you? They were, like British and timid and just wanted scones and did not be there. So they were like, and I'd be like, clap like you're an American cheerleader, and they're like, must we?
Yeah. Isn't it wild? It really does make you start to think, why do we do the things we do? It's so much unpacking, especially since I kind of feel like we're wrong. No one's wrong, but
everyone's wrong, right? As much as,
Yeah, everyone's wrong in some way. It feels like the US is like an automated response. That's what I should say, rather than true response. And so I think we've also convinced ourselves that that's what the audience wants. And I don't think that is. I think we're student council representatives for the human spirit. And I think we have to be brave enough to say how we're feeling inside improv scenes, dark and light and everything in between, because that's what's funny. Luckily, a lot of television media and movies, grittier comedy is more trendy now, which I'm so thankful for, because I feel like it's showing not everyone's a brand, but a full-bodied human that make funny things happen. That's more interesting to me in my evolution as a performer.
Okay, well, I feel as well, maybe there's one more thing we should touch upon, the idea of the safety to create, because we're talking about this glossed exterior to improv. And I think as well, because improv has heavily come out out of North America. And so whatever brand we're selling hard, buy a used car and some improv. And I think that we're doing well with it. So a lot of folks are buying, but then they're like, just a minute, and maybe augmenting at this point in a different direction. Greater context or more nuclear, what is safety to create? And then in that context, how do we make sure that there's more safety for players new and existing?
I think it's so exciting right now that people are having conversations like these, that places are becoming safe spaces to create within. When I started in 99 in Chicago, I think that I was one of 2 women in my improv class out of like 20 people. That was unusual. Luckily, I was perceived as funny, so it was not hard for me to pass in this world of creation and performing. But that being said, I saw everything, I felt everything. So many bad things happened. So many people were put in horrible positions. And I think we're trying now to kind of right the ship for people and say that safe spaces are integral to making sure that people can go out and actually be funnier. And I think that that's part of allyship to that. As a theater owner now, and a theater performer elsewhere, and a theater teacher elsewhere, you have to start to recognize that everyone's experience in that room is coming from an individual, and that person needs to speak. The more room we make for that, the more policy we have in tow when we create a space to perform in, the better it's going to be for people down the line. I think that safe space scares people a little bit. Not the people that are marginalized. It doesn't scare them because they're like, thank God, hopefully. But the people that aren't marginalized, able-bodied, white, cis, whatever it may be, I think those people are scared by the idea of a safe space in comedy sometimes because it means, am I going to be censored? When really it means if we're all safe together backstage and we know the rules and the outline of the space we're performing within, when we step out to a crowd of hundreds of people, we're going to feel like we can actually create funnier things because we know that our nucleus is protected, and that means we are protected. And I think that's fairly new. We all kind of yelled, got your back for 5,000 decades so far in improv, but what did it really mean? I think it meant, I'll try to support your character's choice. And that's not enough anymore. It has to be the human, I think. Getting to a place where that's starting to happen, we're trying to get there. When you have the advantage of starting somewhere like the Nest Theatre, it's easy to walk in and be like, we're starting with an ethics policy on day one. Every single person that stepped in our door has signed the policy. So it's incredible for us to say, if you're a student, if you're a performer, if you're a guest, whatever you are, you know these are the rules, you know this is the way we play, and you're going to take care of all of your ensemble. That's an incredible feeling for me as a performer, even looking back. It's just really cool to watch. Everyone just knows if they mess up, we can be kind of like, you remember that thing you signed? And they're like, yeah. And it's not this monumental discovery or conversation. It just turns into, what can we do to make this better? Or what do we have to do to get you out of here? Or whatever the conversation needs to be. But everyone has the same understanding of what the rules are. That's exciting, an exciting new step for comedy because it invites more people in that have never been amplified in our world at all.
And improvisers, you've learned the alphabet game. You can stick to that. I don't think this is a big one, people.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, if you can play ABC, then you should be okay knowing that an ethics policy is this. Exactly.
Yeah. Tara, you have said so many things already, but if you would like to speak to the younger version of you, the improv community as a whole, or someone who's never tried improv and they watched this video and they were searching for soup recipes and accidentally found us, what do you want people to
Yeah, okay. Let's say stay joyful. Remember the reason that you came to improv to begin with, what brought you there, and what has already transformed in you that's worth keeping. Don't be afraid to speak out and make sure that your space is safe, and look for advocates like me or otherwise in your communities to help you, the big sisters of your community that will make it easier for you to do that. High tides rise all boats. I truly believe that. The more you accept and amplify other people, the better your career goes. And how about this? Don't look for something out of improv. Look what you can put back in. And if you, that seems like a good place to be, because if you put things in, you get things out. But when you're looking for something from it, it's like a sacrificial thing. It doesn't feel as good. It feels like you're trying to use it to escalate. And it's certainly a great skill. Don't get me wrong. Use it for skill sets. When it comes to teams, don't think about what am I getting out of this team. Think about what am I putting into this team, and see if it becomes a symbiotic relationship where you're getting something and giving something after you've thought that way.
Yeah. Don't be tree lichen. Is tree lichen a succubus? Is tree
lichen? Oh, I think so. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, don't be
Thank you for bringing up tree lichen.
I bring it up every interview. It's sort of my thing.
Yeah, every time I bring it up and no one wants to talk about it, but Tara finally did.
Ugh. Also, I'm just waiting for someone to be like, actually, tree lichen you will find is a symbiotic relationship. It's not correct. Sorry, internet.
Yeah. Sorry.
Okay. So lastly, if folks want to find you, so they're in the Columbus region or tri-state area, they want to watch a show, they want to take a class, or they want to bring you to their place of being and you teach and perform there, how can people find you?
Oh, please bring us. Oh, I love people so much. Remember people?
Yeah.
If you want to see the touring show, hear the improvised musical, hear themusical.com. That's how you can see the 2-person duo show. Been touring now for 6 years, and we're on our 80th city of headliners. Thank you very much, world. The Nest Theatre is my home in Columbus, Ohio. We designed the curriculum and perform there a lot. There's 23 main stage shows and 500 students and performers. Holy cat, I can't believe it. So that's nesttheatre.com, spelled with an R-E. And in the summer times, I'm at IO Chicago teaching at the summer intensives. You can see me there if you come in for camps. Not this year, obviously, but soon again. And for many, many years prior to this, I go in as an artist in residence in Chicago and teach there for a little bit over the summer times. That's my other home. Otherwise, you can reach out to me on social platforms or whatever and let me know if you want us to come over and teach and all that. It's my favorite thing. And all the projects are on TerraDeFrancisco.com or Instagram, same thing, at Terra DeFrancisco, Terra DeFrancisco, Facebook, blah, blah, blah. You get it. TerraDeFrancisco.friendster.net, whatever, all those things. You remember.
What's your name? I didn't catch. Did you?
Oh, yeah, don't worry about it.
Okay. Thank you so very much. It was an absolute joy to speak with you. The pumpkins, the cream, the seeds, the feta, and I say thank you. Maybe some paprika. Yeah, we say thank you.
Yeah, thank you. You too. Thanks, Lauren. That's awesome.
All right, everyone. This is Improving the World, and there's more where that came from. Bye, all. So, did you love the video? If you did, please say kind and wonderful things in the comments down below, and you could subscribe if you're feeling sassy and look for more Improving the World.